Well, guys, we're only on episode 2, and already I am seeing that the faithfuls are struggling. It is a struggle bus out there. And like I said, we're only on episode 2, so I'm not expecting miracles from them. But when they haven't even got a clue, it is a little bit rough and tough. But this episode was actually really entertaining. I had a fabulous time watching it. I don't know whether it's just because I love watching the Traitors and I love the drama and the mystery and the intrigue and the, ooh, are they going to get found out? Are they not going to get found out? Who's going to prove themselves to be good? Who's not going to prove themselves to be good? I'm just really excited to get into this series, but before we do, I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support on the channel. You guys are absolutely smashing it at the moment. Yesterday we had our best day ever on the channel. We managed to get like 50 something subs within one day, which is absolutely wild and crazy to me. So thank you so much. I hope you guys are having a great time with these videos, and let's get in to the episode, shall we? So the Traitors decided to recruit Parvati. Ooh, an interesting one, and I think the interesting reason why they chose her is because they need someone that's already slightly suspicious to people and someone that will essentially act as a shield for them if they need to send somebody down the river. It's an interesting choice right out the gate. I personally would have chosen someone that would have remained undetectable. I would have chosen Sandra. Sandra, having seen the way that she played Survivor in her first series, I haven't seen the rest of her series, so I can't comment on them, but in her first series, the way that she slipped under the radar and every single time they were going to vote her out, they ended up voting someone else out, it just makes me feel like she would have been the perfect traitor, because even if people suspected her, she'd have been able to talk her way out of it. It's just one of those things, and I'm not so sure that Parvati is going to be as strong. Which I could be very, very wrong. Let's be honest, I've not seen her in Survivor, so I know nothing other than that she's won once. And it was apparently the same season that Suri won. And if you know this channel, you know big love for Suri. Suri is one of my favourite reality show contestants of all time. The way I wish I could give that woman a hug. Anyway, moving on. Who are they going to kill? Again, a really interesting question. There's no kind of strategy at the start of this competition when it comes to who to kill. It does just become who are we not vibing with currently? Or who do we think is going to be a problem in the future? It never is a tactical decision at the start. It's always just, let's just take a blind punt in the dark and hope that we rile some feathers by taking out this person. So we come into breakfast, and breakfast was a little bit tense this morning. We've got the comedy icon Ekin Su worrying more about the food than actually what's going on in the competition, which I found hilarious. And I'm not being funny, I would probably be doing the same. You give me a platter of smoked salmon, yes, I'm going to be eating the smoked salmon. Oh shit, are we meant to be playing the Traitors? Yeah, sorry, my bad, I was focused on the food. And then you've also got the whole Peppermint situation being brought up. Now, Peppermint, first of all, is a wonderful, wonderful person. I love her to pieces. I watched her on Drag Race back when she was on Drag Race in season 9, I think it was. She made it all the way to top 2. Absolute icon. Still waiting for her to go back, but I don't think that's going to happen. So it was interesting to see her on this show. I did not appreciate the fact that Trishelle cannot take a joke, clearly, because the conversation went something like this. Oh, I've got so many clothes to wear. Oh, me too. Don't go kill me at night. Oh my God, I would never. What? That's how the conversation felt to me. Trishelle has blown it massively out of proportion and told everyone that Peppermint was looking guilty, was acting shifty, when that was not the case. That did not happen. And it's a classic case of just one wrong thing at the start of a competition fucks up your game, and one person makes a wrong allegation about you, and suddenly you're public enemy number 1. I felt really sorry for Peppermint, if I'm being 100% honest, and it sucks. It sucks to see her being put in this situation so early, but it is what it is. I'm sure she'll fight back and get out of it. So obviously, Johnny Bananas was the first person to be eliminated or murdered on the show. Johnny Bananas, an interesting choice, I have to say. Not only is he a strong competitor in the challenges and he can earn them a lot of money, but I don't have a feeling, like, I don't know how the challenge works in America. I can imagine it's just like do good at the challenges and you make it through to the next round. That's how I imagine it is. So I can't see him being like a tactical genius, like a mastermind of puzzles and gameplay. Do you know what I mean? I I don't know whether that's the case or not. It might be, it might not be. But I just didn't feel like killing him was the wisest use of their resources. I probably would have killed one of the people that I was going to choose as a traitor, because if I know that they've got good traitorous abilities, then they're going to be able to find the traitors a lot easier. So, just before we get into the main challenge, there are a couple of suspicions that are floating around, really interesting ones. Tamra really doesn't like the fact that John is a politician. She keeps bringing it up, and it is getting to the point where it's like, oh, so you just have a personal vendetta against him because he's a politician. First of all, he wasn't even really a politician. He was a speaker in the House of Commons. He was the one that like oversaw it. If anything, he was to remain impartial. So he's not really a politician. I think that's the thing that the Americans have completely missed. But the reason why is because of the whole breathing situation. And yes, he mentioned that he had asthma. That will come into effect later on. But I feel like people are really just grasping at straws. I refuse to believe, and obviously we know it's not true because obviously he's not a traitor, but I refuse to believe that if someone was to tap you on the shoulder to let you know that you are going to be the traitor in the game, that you would start hyperventilating and breathing really heavily. I refuse to believe that. If anything, you're not going to breathe. You're going to hold your breath and then you're going to go, you can't hear what I'm doing, but it makes sense in my head. So I feel like that was just a really flimsy basis. And then Sandra, because obviously Parvati is now a traitor, Sandra was like, yeah, I'm going to keep my eye on Parvati because she could be a traitor. And if I find out, if I get any inkling that she's a traitor, I will not hesitate to round up the people and get her out of this game. And I was like, Sandra, big up Sandra. Why is she a villain in terms of Survivor? Have I missed that season? Because she wasn't very villainous on season 7. Maybe I'm missing a season. Maybe I need to watch like her next season that she's on, and then I'll understand why she's a villain. Don't tell me in the description, in the comment section, because I do want it to be a surprise. I don't want to know anything about Survivor. I literally know nobody that's won. Not a single person. Apart from now, the fact that a couple of people have won twice. But anyway, moving on. So, interestingly, the thing that the US version of this show does is mix up the order of the challenges. Instead of having the Scarecrow challenge in episode 3, I think it was, or episode 4, I can't remember, they decided to have it in episode 2, which is where the running around with the bird calls was in episode 2 of the UK version. I'm sure we'll see that at some point. But I was really intrigued as to what the questionnaires' questions were and what they were going to be sort of answering questions about. So the first question was valued opinion. Whose opinion do you value the most? And apparently the group chose Marcus. Marcus is Larsa's husband, I think. He's a fashion designer. He seems chill. Hasn't really added anything to the game yet, but clearly they trust him a lot. Then the next one was most popular. It was between Deontay and Peppermint, and I found it really interesting because the correct answer was Peppermint, which I find very, very strange and very, very odd, considering most of the group thinks that she's guilty currently. Anyway, moving on. The last one was who needs to speak up, and Dan was chosen. Now, Dan is a traitor, and he is obviously worried that this is going to affect his gameplay. It was an interesting challenge. I feel like they could have done more with the questions. I felt like there were more questions in the UK version, but I could be very wrong. I don't know. It's been a while since I saw that series. I watched it when it was coming out in January, so it has been a couple of months. But there was an interesting thing with John and his inhaler. I'm just going to briefly brush over that. Someone was like, oh God, I need an inhaler. John, have you got one? And John was like, no. And he was running about, he was darting about as if like he didn't have asthma. But obviously I'm not commenting on that. That's just what they were commenting on. Because I'm not here to tell you whether you've got asthma or not. Do you know what I mean? It's your life. So yeah, they managed to make $16,000 out of this challenge. Dan managed to get a shield, which I found interesting because he's using it almost as like a double bluff. But I feel like it was a bit of a wasted opportunity at this point. Wouldn't you rather go for one when there's a little bit more suspicion on you, so it looks like you're trying to survive the night? I don't know. Maybe that's just how I'd play the game. So before we head into the first roundtable of the series, we have a few suspicions. The suspicions are baseless. For want of a better word, they're baseless. Because you've got Tamra being like, oh, I really think that John's a traitor because he's a politician and he's lying about the asthma thing. And he was breathing really heavy. Ugh. I'm not vibing with Tamra, I gotta be honest. Yeah, not my fan. But Peppermint is also putting in the work to clear her name. She's like, hang on a minute, why is my name suddenly being thrown about? Is that not like a little bit confusing? I think she was talking to, is her name Cherie? I think that's her name. I haven't heard them say it out loud, so I'm guessing it's Cherie. And Cherie was like, yeah, by the way, I was in that conversation and I saw it as like really laughy, jokey, funny, haha. I didn't think it was as serious as everyone was making out. And I was like, thank you. I'm glad that someone else has recognized that as well. And then just before we went into the round table, Mr. John Burkout went, I'm girding my loins ready for battle. Oh, God. Oh, this guy's so funny. Like, actually so funny. And it did make me chuckle. Because I sat there and I was like, what does that even mean? I'm girding my loins ready for battle. That's a crazy statement if ever I've heard one. So we head into the round table and immediately people bring up the whole Peppermint situation. I was nervous that Peppermint would be brought up because I thought she doesn't deserve this. And obviously she's sitting there going, I thought it was a joke. And Trishelle was like, oh yeah, I meant it as a joke, but you just didn't take it as a joke. And Peppermint literally said right back to her face, don't go into comedy. Peppermint, you didn't need to come in with that scathing attack. Was it appreciated? Absolutely. But was it needed? Necessary? No. And then Peppermint was obviously like, well, why did you talk to every single person in this group about me before coming to me and asking what the conversation was about? Why did you spread misinformation like that? And then obviously Peppermint's getting just a little bit leery, little bit. The hand's going out in Trishelle's face, and Trishelle's like, don't put your hand in my face. Thought they were going to have a scrap. I was like, rah, this is what I come to the American version for, because they fight like cats and dogs. It's crazy. It's craziness. And then there was some damning evidence. The damning evidence was that apparently during a conversation in the kitchen, the same one that I think, who was it? Cherie was there. Or Sherry. I don't know what her name is. Can someone please give me like a word pronunciation? It's got an accent on it. So, and like, it's been a long time since I've done languages. So the accent is throwing me. But anyway, I think it was Larsa was saying something along the lines of, yeah, you slipped up in our conversation and you said that you were a traitor. And I was like, okay, first of all, have you ever seen this show before? Because there's been plenty of people that accidentally have said that they're a traitor when they are quite literally not a traitor. And they've proven that they're not a traitor by being voted out. They're not a traitor. It was just a Freudian slip. So why are we using this as the damning evidence, first of all? And then Parvati is like, yeah, guys, this is just gossip. And then obviously John Burkout gets the brunt of the next bit of the argument. Tamra will not let the whole asthma breathing thing go. He clarified that he had asthma as a kid, and that was just even more confusing, because it was like, what? Well, then what was the explanation for the heavy breathing then? I just don't think it was anything, and people were just making claims out of claims. Do you know what I mean? It was just nothing there for me. And obviously then Tamara's like, well, you're a politician. And it's like, ugh, do you need to come in with that? Because you're a reality star? Sorry that I have an education. Sorry that, I'm sorry that your country's politicians all lie to each other. Oh, I'm really sorry about that, but like, our country, they get found out. Do you know what I mean? No, joking. He's not even a politician. This is what I was saying. Just because he works in politics does not mean he's a politician. He quite literally has no say. He's just basically like the judge, in the sense of like, he just presides over the Houses of Parliament, or he used to at least. So it really wound me up how she was using that as an argument as to why he's guilty. I was like, well, you're just some nobody from like the Real Housewives. You're famous because your husband has money and you got on a TV show. So, sorry, you lie and backstab all the time. Does that mean you're a traitor? No. This game is what matters, not what we do on the outside world. Oh, God, I can already tell I'm not going to like Tamara. So that does bring us to voting time. Voting time was rough. It was tough. It was unfortunate. And it did send one of my faves home. Bergie decided to vote for Peppermint. MJ decided to vote for John. Phaedra decided to vote for Peppermint. Sandra voted for Peppermint. John voted for Peppermint. Peter voted for Peppermint. Janelle voted for Peppermint. Max voted for John. Larsa voted for Peppermint. Parvati voted for Peppermint. Kevin voted for Peppermint. Peppermint voted for Trishelle. Trishelle voted for Peppermint. Deontay voted for Peppermint. Tamara voted for Peppermint, which I found really odd considering she was riding so hard to get John out. Then we had Marcus voted for Peppermint. Sheree voted for Peppermint. Ekin-Su voted for Peppermint. Dan voted for Peppermint. CT voted for Peppermint. Oh, it was just an absolute nightmare. Out of like, what? How many people were there? 1, 2, 3. There's 20 people. 17 people voted for Peppermint. Gutted is what I'd say. Gutted. Because I really wanted her to be on this a little bit longer. She had fabulous outfits to show us. It's a shame. It really is a shame. But it is what it is. Not really much you can do. That's also pretty much where the episode ended. There was like a little bit where Trishelle was like, I'm so sad that I was wrong. Oh my God. Oh my God. It was giving me big like Holly Willoughby when she was crying vibes. And then obviously Parvati found out who the traitors were, but that was literally where the episode ended. She was like, oh, and then that's where it cut. And I was like, I just want to know who's like on the chopping block for the next week. That's what I like about the UK version, is that every episode ends with like, oh, who are we going to murder? That's like a cool way to end the episode. Not just, yeah. So that is all we've got time for today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. I'll be back in a couple of days with the next episode. I am juggling this and Love Island, and also Dance Moms, because that's been banging on the channel. So I will be making frequent videos on this as often as I possibly can. But until then, thank you guys very, very much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you guys later. Make sure to subscribe, and yeah, keep on ranting. Bye now.